Thank you. Good morning. And notwithstanding David's incorrect introduction of the company, we're Net-a-Porter. And for most of the people in this room, you might be more interested to know that from January we will also be MrPorter.com, which will be our men's site. And we also have a third brand. We're very keen to distinguish between the brands so that people understand in the company what the brand values are. We have a third brand called theoutnet.com, which is for last year's fashion. So I thought I would just start a little bit by giving some sense of where the company's come to. We celebrated our 10th birthday party last week. We launched in 2000, the height of the dot-com bubble or boom or bust or whatever you want to call it. I joined in 2003, and that year we did £3 million in sales. This year will be something over 200. We had 47 employees when I joined. This year, or today, we've got about 730. There are some other interesting stats that we look at and think about. Our units sold was 75,000 in 2004. 783,000 last year, and this year to date is just under 600,000. And something which blows our distribution center in 2005, which is as far back as we go, we took in just under 5,000 deliveries, and this year to date we've taken in just under 40,000 deliveries. So these are the operational issues that companies have to deal with as they scale. And I suppose the ambition that we've always had is always to stay a little bit ahead of where we are in terms of systems and operations. And if I were going to summarize what has occupied me over the last 7 years, it's been dealing with bottlenecks. And in those 7 years, we're now coming back to deal with the same bottlenecks two, and in one case the third time around, because the business just grows and grows, and the solution that was right at one stage is no longer right now, which is no criticism of the solution last time. So I've summarized 1 or 2 points here, and I guess the first thing that we have tried to do as we built our senior team, and then we try and mirror that in the various departments down through the company, is to make sure that we have the right mix of people and the right mix of talents. The person who's most identified with our business is Natalie Massenet, who founded it. She had this vision in 1999 that she would like to open a page of Vogue, see a dress on the page and say, like to buy it. And that's where we are today. The business today has a remarkable affinity to that original business plan, and she has the vision, and she is, as we like to call it, or as other people have called it, the empathizer in the business. And I am what people might call the systematizer. And I'm just going to read the definition of empathizers and systematizers. I apologize for reading something. Empathizing is the drive to identify another person's feelings and thoughts and to respond to them with an appropriate emotion. It is done in order to understand another person, to predict their behavior, and to connect with them emotionally. Systemizing is the drive to analyze, explore, and construct a system. The systematizer intuitively figures out how things work by extracting the underlying rules that govern the behavior of a system. This is done in order to understand and predict the system or to invent a new one. So the conclusion that many people far more scientific than I am, conclude is that on average, men tend towards systematic approaches, and on average, women tend towards empathetic approaches. Of course, I say tend because all of us know many men who are empathizers and many women who are systematizers. But as we have looked at our business and we've looked at the way that our senior team has come together, we have quite a good mix of empathizers and systematizers. And of course, as the business, when you start a business in the very early stage, the empathetic emotions are the ones that come to the fore. You feel you have to do it. There's a reason. You think there's a market there. I thought Al Gosling this morning was a brilliant exponent of how the business started as an empathetic business and moved as it got bigger and bigger towards a more systematic one while retaining that empathetic element to it. I don't know if you're here, Al, but that's what I took out of your speech. No, he's there. Anyway, the more you develop the business and the bigger it gets, the more you have to justify your decisions. But it's important to maintain an eye on the customer. And so if the customer care person comes very far down in the organization, that's a signal that you've perhaps lost sight of the empathetic. Let's move on. I want to move on a little bit to how we have tried to maintain this culture when the company's growing so fast. And I just thought I would give you some things of the way we try and do it, because we do feel we have a strong culture. So we have every couple of months or so, we have what we call founders' lunches. And these are lunches for about 20 people who've just joined the company, and Natalie and I will host them, and there'll be 2 or 3 other executive members, and we try and mix around and just have an informal way of welcoming in new starters to the company and letting them hear a bit about the origins of the company and how it works. We have an annual presentation by the executive team. Every year, the executives hate doing it. We force it on ourselves. We've got it next month, and we try and have a slightly different theme. We have everybody together. We have 3 locations. The 2 London locations come together in, it's nearly going to be the O2 Centre, but not quite. And then we video link to our New York distribution centre so that everybody can sense that they're together, and we try and communicate with the whole team about what's happening and how things are going. We also have a pizza story, actually, because we try and celebrate new records, and our operations center had a new record day of orders that they sent out. So they placed an order from Domino's Pizza in Charlton, which exceeded £1,000. And if you can imagine what £1,000 of pizza looks like, it's a lot of pizza. And I think it was a good challenge to Domino's that they were able to manage the peak of that particular order that day. We have 2 big parties a year. We have a summer party, we have a winter party. And for the Christmas party, 3 employees from New York and 3 employees from London are voted on by their colleagues in departments to go and celebrate at the other person's party. And the guys get to go and spend a long weekend in New York or in London, depending on where they are. For people who work in warehouses for most of the time, this is quite a high spot, and it creates a great spirit of cohesion and togetherness between the teams. We always try and promote from within wherever we can, but you don't always do that, and this is a point very much that I take up from what you said, Jaina, which is you have to get rid of people if they don't perform. And this falls into 2 categories, really. They're the people who can't grow with the business, and they're the people who just haven't worked out. And one of the biggest challenges when you're hiring people from outside, because when you're a small company and you're growing, you want big company skills, you want big company standards. Can people who come from big companies accept the culture of a smaller entrepreneurial company? And this is very difficult to establish, because at the interview they'll say, "Oh yes, we're dying to leave this big corporation. We've always wanted to come and work for a small entrepreneurial company. Yes." And they've got all the relevant experience and they shape up well. But when it actually comes to it, how high will they roll up their sleeves? And because that's what you need in a small company, you need somebody who's going to do the work, who's not going to just depute somebody else to do it. And that we have found as a challenge. We do focus on management training at all levels, and we try and introduce different training for different levels. one of the things that we did a few years ago, which may sound coy, and I was a bit skeptical about it at first, but it really has paid off, is to create some very simple company values that everybody can relate to, no matter where they are in the organization, whether they're working in the warehouse, whether they're a manager, whether they're doing marketing. And these, I'll tell you what they are, I mean, and you'll smile and snigger perhaps, but actually it's worked quite well. The acronym is BLESS, which stands for Be the Best, Lead, Don't Follow, Exceed Expectations, Smart and Stylish, and Start with Yourself. And these are very simple ideas, but people at all different sorts of levels in the company can identify with it, and it's very useful when we do company appraisal, when we do individual appraisals. You can measure yourself by this one measure that you can measure by that. So another challenge that we faced is maintaining service levels. We offer our customers same-day delivery if they live in London or Manhattan. If you live in London or Manhattan and we know your credit and you order on the web before 1 o'clock in the afternoon, you'll get it the same day. And we absolutely guarantee that. And it was one thing when we were doing 10 a day out of a little office in London. It's quite another when we're doing 500 deliveries and collections a day out in London and Manhattan. These are challenges that we have faced when we scale. The third challenge, I guess I would say, and a lot of people here are technologists, I know, so I make no apology for saying it, is to ensure that the IT department is the slave of the business and not vice versa. The struggles I have had to ensure that the focus of the IT department is focused on what the user groups want rather than what the IT department think they should have. And the way we've done that is to create user groups. We have told the IT department they can advise the user groups. They can say this is trivial or this isn't trivial. Usually they say it isn't trivial. But they can advise the user groups, but they absolutely cannot dictate what the priorities are going to be in the development program. And this has been quite a challenge. And I'm just going to finish the most boring thing that we've had to face over the years is explaining to people, usually men, who say, I don't understand why women would buy expensive clothes online. And they just don't get it.